The main focus in an office is usually the pantry. This is where clients are typically willing to spend the majority of their budget, and it's where the most work and construction happens in a project. So today, I'm going to walk you through how I designed this office pantry, and I'm going to use Coohom to do it. So stay tuned. What's up, designers? My name is Kelsey. I'm an 𝐈𝐴 certified interior designer and the owner of KLSY, a Manhattan-based interior design studio specializing in commercial spaces. My mission is to help other designers excel in their career while promoting transparency about the industry. I recently completed an office project in the Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan, and not to toot my own horn, it's one of my favorite office projects I've ever done, and most definitely my favorite kitchen that I've designed so far. Probably because I finally found a client who would let me paint their cabinets pink, and I'm very happy about it. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through step by step how I designed this pantry space. The first step to designing a kick-ass pantry is to assess the client's current conditions. This was going to be a brand new office for my client, but there was an existing pantry left over from the previous tenant. The kitchen was very small, a bit dingy, and just overall looked outdated and bleh. So during my survey of the entire office, I also took measurements of the existing kitchen area, including all of the appliances, because we were going to reuse some of them. I also assessed the client's current kitchen and their previous office space, and I noted any important elements. One important thing that they noted to me was that they have 2 large pantry cabinets that they use to store snacks. They have a young and collaborative office culture, so they provide things like coffee and snacks to all their employees that are just up for grabs. When I sat down with my client during the initial client interview, they also stated that they wanted the new kitchen to be a place where they could host birthday and holiday parties and where employees could bring their laptop to work if they wanted to get away from the desk or collaborate with each other. After assessing the client's needs, the next step was finding inspiration. This client is a young and fun tech company, so I wanted their new office to reflect that. Their branding colors were blue and pink with a hint of purple, so I wanted those to be our main color scheme. For this specific project, I made 2 inspiration boards, one for the open office and meeting rooms, and one for the pantry and lounge area, since the pantry sort of bleeds into the co-working lounge. You can see that I'm using those pinks and blues. Both myself and the client really loved this image of the blue base cabinets with a pink upper cabinet, so that was the initial inspiration for this pantry design. Once the client and I were on the same page in terms of the aesthetic direction, it was time to lay the floor plan out in AutoCAD. After my initial survey, I drafted the existing plans in AutoCAD already, so we already have that ready to go. I'll do a more in-depth video on how I create test fits and do floor plans in a future video, but essentially I just start playing around with countertop shapes, adding in furniture blocks, and always checking that I'm leaving plenty of room for people to move around, and that we have all of our clearances too. We want to think about ADA here as well. I kept the location of the cabinets by the window and extended it in order to increase the overall size of the kitchen. In order to make this pantry feel more open and perfect for hosting big collaborative meals and events, I added an island with stools at the end. I kept the new sink in the same location as the original sink to not mess around with the plumbing, which could get expensive and time-consuming. And then I placed the dishwasher directly next to it, also in order to keep the plumbing close together. This is something that I want to emphasize when you're designing any kind of kitchen or bathroom. You can't just put a plumbing fixture like a sink or a toilet anywhere on the wall. They need to be connected to a plumbing wall. If you don't know what that means, then I will leave a card up here to my plumbing plan basics video. And I'll also leave that link in the description box if you want to watch that next. With all of those items placed so far, that doesn't leave much room for the refrigerator on this wall, so what I decided to do was put the fridge here on the opposite side, as well as add those tall pantry cabinets for the snack cabinet that the client requested. And don't forget to note the upper cabinets on this plan too, which I will put here. Once I completed this floor plan, as well as the floor plan for the rest of the office, I presented it to the client for their comments and approval. After approval, it's time to render this view and see what it looks like in 3D. I find renderings extremely useful because it allows me to see details about the design and layout that I may have missed in the plan. To render this pantry, I'm going to use Coohom, who is also the sponsor of this video. Coohom is a 3D modeling and rendering software created to make designing and rendering easy. It has a vast model library for you to drag and drop furniture blocks into your model for quick floor plan iteration. It has cloud-based flexibility so you can work on your projects for multiple devices with multiple people. It has high-resolution photo and video rendering capabilities, which is like my favorite part. AI-powered design templates, and specialized kitchen and closet tools, which we're going to be using today. The best part about Coohom, in my opinion, is the fact that you can upload your AutoCAD files into it like immediately, and it will build the basic model for you in a second, literally saving you hours of time. And that goes back to the whole mission of Coohom, which is not just to make it easier to design, model, and render, but to make your workflow faster, especially in this day and age where visualization is everything. And honestly, most clients expect renderings as the bare minimum when hiring a designer. So having a program that can cut your modeling and rendering time in half is key. So let's use Coohom to model this pantry, shall we?
All right, we are in Coohom, and I'm going to start by opening a new project. I'm going to import a CAD file because that's what I use to draw the base model in. And Coohom should automatically generate a base model for me. Now, with my file, it wasn't reading it properly. It might have been the way that I drew it in CAD. So what I need to do first is just clean up this base model quickly. I'm going to speed up time and just skip through a little bit of this so you guys don't have to watch me clean up my model. But essentially, I'm just taking what Coohom has already given me and replacing some of the windows so that it looks more accurate to what is actually in the space. I'm clicking on the walls and I'm adjusting all of the heights of them. These are pretty tall ceilings in this building. They're 11 feet. And then I'm going ahead and adjusting all the window sizes, maybe adding some doors. And another thing is because Coohom wasn't reading all of the walls in my model, I'm just closing up any of these gaps because it automatically will generate a floor, as you can see here. And you can change this floor material to be anything that you want, but coincidentally, this looks very, very similar to the floor that's already in the space. So I'm gonna leave this as is. Thank you so much, Coohom. That was very nice of you. And now I'm just gonna set up some 3D views. I probably could set these up after I've done modeling everything, but I just like to give myself a grounding point so I can see what's actually in the view. You don't really need to model everything if you're not going to render everything. I am not rendering everything in this case. I'm just looking at the pantry. So I'm going to set up 2 different views to see what that pantry view can look like. Next, I'm going to go into the kitchen blocks and start looking through what cabinets I want to use. I like that you can filter by style. I'm usually modeling and designing in a very modern style. So I've clicked on modern and I found this base cabinet that looks pretty simple. It has a sink in the exact spot that I had it in my plan, which is really nice. And now I'm going to go into the material editor and just change the materials of this. I know that for the base cabinets, I want to have a white marble look and a white base cabinet. So I just searched marble and I filtered by white, and I did the same thing with the paint on the base cabinet. And I think that looks good. Once I filled all that in, I then looked for some upper cabinets, and we know we want to paint these that beautiful pink color. So I'm going to go back into the material editor and I'm just going to search by pink paint. This color actually looks almost identical to what I was looking for. It looks like it's going to be a little too shiny, but we can always fix that later. And then Coohom also gives you appliances and little details, accessories, if you want to go crazy and add all that stuff in. I'm not going to do that right now for the purposes of time, but I am going to add a refrigerator just so we know that this is actually a real kitchen. And finally, I'm going to add this island because we know we definitely want the island space. Also, I can go in and change those stools, but I think they look pretty simple and modern for now. I'm just going to go ahead and change the marble and the white to match the other base cabinets. Okay, with all of those basic items in there, the most important items that I want to see in the rendering, I want to go back to look at my 3D views and see how this looks. These are actually looking pretty awesome. I'm just going to quickly change the background to be a city because we are in New York City. And maybe just play around with the angles of this, change it up a little bit, see how I can get the best view for this rendering. then let's generate this image and see how it looks all rendered. You can also adjust any of the settings on the side, like if you want it to be in 4K, if you want to change the lighting, if this is supposed to be a nighttime scene. I'm going to keep it very basic and just let Coohom do everything for me. This looks pretty good, actually. Just as I predicted, the cabinets are reading a little bit glossy, but again, I can go back and change that material in the future if that's what I want to do. But now what I want to play around with is the AI image generator. And the reason why I didn't add a ton of those accessories is because in this AI generator, Coohom can kind of do all that for you, and you can play around with different styles. It can fill in the blanks where you currently don't have things modeled. So I'm just going to play around with this and see what it's giving me. Okay, this is very different to the style that we want. So actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the furniture that I wanna keep. And this is telling the AI generator that we definitely wanna keep those blue and pink cabinets as well as the white base cabinet. So let's see what it comes up with next. Okay, this actually looks pretty good. It didn't do much except for change the background, and it adjusted the lighting. Of course, there might be more detail that I want to add in this, but the point is that if you are maybe in a rush to get a rendering around or you have a quick timeline, then I think this is like a really great, realistic rendering for such a short amount of time that this took me to do. So with all of that said, if you're interested in using Coohom for your next project or you want to try it out for yourself, then use code KLSY for 73% off your first membership at Coohom.com. I'm not kidding, it's literally 73% off. So I will leave that link down in the description box. And thank you again to Coohom for sponsoring this video.
Once the design set is complete and approved, the next step is to create the drawings for the contractor to build. I'm not going to get into too much depth about CD sets and details in this video, but if that's also something you're interested in me making a video about in the future, then leave a comment down in the description box. Basically, I'm making sure that I have all of the correct floor plans, elevations, and detailed drawings so that the design is clear to the contractor and they make no mistakes. No mistakes! I'm also including a finish schedule to tell the contractor what color we're painting each cabinet, what the countertop will be, and even what the hardware is. Don't forget to select the hardware or your contractor will pick it for you. And they rarely pick something good. The final step in the process is construction. And although you hopefully won't be building this pantry on your own, which I say every single project I work on, and yet I always do some kind of manual labor. You are responsible for being on site periodically to ensure that the contractor and his team are building it according to your design and your drawings. They will probably also have questions for you because as tight as your drawing set can be, there's always questions. It's normal. And also because the site conditions may be slightly off from when you initially measured because nothing in the world is perfect. And we're humans. We make mistakes. For this project, the column size and location were slightly off in my drawings. So I sat with the contractor on site and we talked through in person the sizing of all of the base and upper cabinets to make sure that everything looked balanced and even around the actual column location. We love a collaborative contractor. Jose, you killed it. And that's it. Well, that's not like it. It was a long and time-consuming process, but you know what I mean. I am a little obsessed with how this pantry came out, and the client was very happy too, so this is a huge win in my book. If you're looking for more educational interior design content, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to sign up for my email list down in the description box to receive even more designer insights. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!